this story on the Remix Morning Show. And normally I don't like to double dip in stories, right? There's plenty of news out there to be covered. But, when we talked about this Thursday on the Remix Morning Show, some people called it a distraction. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the FBI this week in Utah killed a man, 75 years old, Craig Robertson, because Craig was out there. Craig had made some very what the FBI perceived to be as credible threats against President Joe Biden, against Vice President Kamala, against those district attorneys up there in New York, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, whatever. He said he was ready to let the chopper sing. This old ass man said he was dusting off all of his sniper gear and was ready to come fuck Joe Biden up because Joe Biden had the audacity to step his ass foot in Utah. which is wild within itself. And I'm going to tell you guys why white terrorism is something that we can never ignore. We should never take our eyes off of white terrorists, even when they are after each other, okay? This man, Craig Robertson, a self-described MAGA Trumper, obviously had some things ready to deliver to Joe Biden. And whilst, I would have lost not a single wink of sleep had Craig actually followed through on his threats. I actually might have slept better. I mean, who could really say? But I wasn't going to shed cry no tears for Joe Biden, right? But the fact that this man was at his big age, willing to ride. Like I said on the morning show, Trump got shooters out here. Trump got elderly shooters out here. Trump got teenage shooters out here. We would be foolish to ignore these things as they pop up because it just is a further indication about the lengths some of these folks are willing to go. And let me ask you a question. If you think Craig Robertson was willing or even able to take a shot at Joe Biden, what the fuck you think he would have did to a black teenager knocking on his door looking for directions? Or a non-white person, right? Because I'm sure non-white people stick out like sore thumbs in the entire state of Utah, right? Like, this is not some shit to be ignored. This is not no shit that's a distraction. This is some shit that we absolutely need to be focused on because should Trump and when Trump perhaps gets back into power, the MAGA supporters, the MAGA Republicans, as Joe Biden likes to say, as if there is like he likes to differentiate between the Ku Klux Klan and the White Citizens Council. Nigga, I see no difference, okay? I don't make them distinctions, motherfucker, between the MAGA Republicans and the regular Klansmen. Get the fuck out of here. But should and if they retain and regain power, huh? Oh, you think they're going to stop at the Biden Democrats? No. They're going to dust off the cobwebs off them M24s, and they're going to center those scopes upon you and I. So we better know who they are, where they are, and what they're capable of. So what's the first? Okay. Let's get an update on the story from ABC News. Will, can we cue up that ABC News package because there has been some video released. This is not FBI body cam video. In fact, the video that we're going to see was captured from a neighbor's surveillance camera. And I think the video pretty much speaks for itself. Now, to be clear, it does not show the FBI killing Mr. Robinson. And anyway, I will come back with that thought after we check the video. Let's get the update from ABC News.
Other news tonight on this Thursday, new details about the Utah man who was killed by the FBI as they tried to arrest him for allegedly threatening to assassinate President Biden. Tonight, new video emerging of the standoff before that deadly shooting. Here's ABC's Mola Lange.
Tonight, new video capturing the deadly standoff in Utah as FBI agents try to arrest a man they say was making credible threats to kill President Biden. Video taken by a neighbor showing agents surrounding a home in Provo early Wednesday morning, yelling for Craig Robertson to come out. Then, a flashbang grenade goes off. Tonight, law enforcement officials telling ABC News Robertson appeared to point a gun at the officers before agents fatally shot him.
Gunshot wounds. It's going to be approximately 75-year-old male.
A federal complaint listing dozens of Robertson's alleged social media posts. Among them, images of a cache of weapons and multiple violent threats against Biden and other high-profile officials, including this one just 4 days ago. I hear Biden is coming to Utah, digging out my old ghillie suit and cleaning the dust off the M24 sniper rifle.
And Lindsay, FBI agents acting swiftly because the president is in Salt Lake City over the last 2 days, just north of Provo, where that raid happened. The shooting is now under investigation tonight, Lindsay.
Listen to that propaganda. The FBI acting swiftly. No, the fuck they didn't. No, the fuck they didn't. They waited because, first of all, the FBI had been to Craig house about 2 times prior. Why? Because Craig was wilding the fuck out on the internet. Craig was wilding the fuck out on the internet, saying, among other things, that it's time for a political presidential assassination, maybe 2. If he was including Kamala in that equation, right? So don't tell me that the FBI acted fucking swiftly. No, they didn't. They waited until Biden stepped foot into Utah to do something about it. Meanwhile, the encounters that they had previously had with Mr. Robertson, I can only imagine must have been pleasant, right? Because Mr. Robertson wasn't arrested for making threats, terroristic threats against the president. It doesn't even appear as though Mr. Robertson had even had his guns confiscated. Don't tell me the FBI acted fucking swiftly. No, they didn't. No, they did not. And let me tell y'all, so that's the propaganda part of this. And then I want to go cue up that local Salt Lake City piece. I think this is Fox 13 Utah. And I want y'all to hear the covering up, the protection, let's give Craig Robertson the benefit of the doubt. Like it's big benefit of the doubt energy coming from this package that I found from the Fox affiliate in Salt Lake City, right? Like it's almost like they're not describing a man who made terroristic threats against the president. And to be clear, I could give a fuck what kind of threats Joe Biden get. Anyway, maybe be quiet. But anyway, I don't care what kind of threats that he get. But considering Craig Robertson's race, gender, religious affiliation, I'm assuming his sexual identity, sexual orientation, his age, all the due deference was giving to a white man befitting of that stature. So let's check out locally how Salt Lake City media was covering Craig Robertson. Let's take a listen.
Max, for all the violent rhetoric the FBI alleged, Robertson appears to have lived a peaceful life up to this week at least. Here's what I found. Robertson was 75 years old. His social media says he graduated from Orem High School in 1966. In 1970, he enlisted in the Air Force. According to an old clipping in the Provo Herald, he joined the Air Force in 1970. We're trying to find out more about his service record from the Air Force. His obituary for his ex-wife says she and Robertson married in 1971. They had 3 children and divorced in 1986. As for work, Robertson was a licensed building inspector from 2009 to 2017. In 2016, Robertson registered a business, Craig's Custom Woods. The business address was the same as his home address in Provo, where the shooting happened today. The only criminal record we could find for him up to this week was filed in 1997 in Provo. It's barely a criminal record. He pleaded no contest to disorderly conduct and infraction. That's like a traffic ticket. He was fined $100. It's an old court record. It doesn't say what led up to the charge being filed. We are working to learn more about Craig D. Robertson. Stick with us here on Fox 13 News and fox13now.com. In the studio, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Thanks, Nate, for that bullshit. Listen, it doesn't matter if Craig Robertson did not have a criminal record. Why, Kim? Why would you say it doesn't matter? It doesn't matter because white people are not the targets of the criminal justice system. Do you know how many motherfucking white folks? No disrespect to the white folks present. Well, I might even be talking about y'all. But do you know how much shit white people get away with and never encounter the criminal justice system? Never even get a whiff of the shit. Like never even come close to the shit. Do you understand that black people go to jail, Latino people go to jail, indigenous people go to jail for shit that whites would never go to jail for? Never, 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 never. And the whites don't even really like to call the police on each other, really. You know what I'm saying? So miss me with Craig. Oh, up until this week, this man didn't appear to be violent. The fuck? Check his Facebook post going back a few years. Craig been popping that shit for a long time. For a long time. And without a doubt, even the people in his community somewhat acknowledge that, yeah, Craig he was frustrated. He was frustrated. He was frustrated. What you frustrated for? Because you couldn't get to January 6th. You couldn't get to the Capitol in time because you would have dusted off your ghillie suit and brought your M24 sniper rifle right down there to the steps of the Capitol. That's probably what Craig was most frustrated about, is that he was not present January 6th. Because trust me, Craig's perspective is, had he been there, oh, that shit would have went different. That shit would have went different if Craig had been down there, because he would have had his ghillie suit ready, posted up. This to me is very, very, very typical, because yeah, this made national news. Like, this is a national news story, but I don't think that it's being put in the proper broader context of how ready and about it these right-wing extremists are, okay? And there is a lot. I mean, again, the Venn diagram is basically two big circles sitting on top of each other between Trump supporters, racists, right-wing violent extremists, the niggas down at fucking Charlottesville, Jews will not replace us. Like, these are all the same Bamas. You understand? These are all the same motherfuckers. And as far as we are concerned, as black folks, as black adjacent folks, as allies and comrades to black people, you think that we are not Craig's enemies? You think Craig wouldn't think for a second to train that sniper rifle on me, you, or another white ally? The fuck he wouldn't. The fuck he wouldn't. And speaking of, like, I was a little concerned, right? Because there has been so much anti-FBI rhetoric coming from the right. I said, surely there is a White Lives Matter rally happening tonight in Salt Lake City. like justice for Craig Robinson. Like, where are the whites? Where they at? The FBI, like your pop has been shot down by the pigs. Where y'all at? Are y'all in the streets? Not y'all, of course, but you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Are they in the streets? Is there a justice for Craig Robinson rally happening in front of the FBI Salt Lake City headquarters? Is not? Oh, I'm sorry. These right-wing extremist crackers are hypocrites? Oh, no. Because y'all know, anytime a black person gets murdered by police, the right-wing media echo chamber will be all up in arms. Oh, look at how they protest. Look at how violent. Look at this. They protesting the wrong way. This ain't the right way. Or if a white person gets killed, or they would use the comparison. Well, how come y'all ain't in the streets when a white person gets killed? No, motherfucker. How come y'all ain't in the streets when a white person gets killed? Like, police violence and police murder is not acceptable. And I'm not saying, because I don't fucking know. And at the end of the day, whether or not they shot down Craig Robertson or Craig Jenkins, I'm not believing what the feds say, period. You know what I'm saying? We can look up the social media posts. That shit is easily findable and documented publicly. But I don't trust what the FBI had to say about what Craig had on him. They said he was armed. Did he have arms on his person? Were his arms in his house? Like, if his arms were upstairs in the bedroom, does that still consider him being armed? Like, I kind of have questions, but I really don't give a fuck, because at the end of the day, Craig is my enemy, and I'm not going to shed no tears for a race soldier getting shot down by the police. But I will point out the hypocrisy that comes from those of his ilk, right? Like they will complain about the way that black people protest when we are murdered by police, but they themselves won't even get out there in the streets for pop pop. Ain't that some shit? Y'all won't even turn up for pop pop. Ain't no justice for Craig Robinson. My apologies. I'm sorry. No, I think that's appropriate to laugh at. Yeah. Fuck this motherfucker and fuck the feds and fuck everybody involved in this shit, right? Fuck Biden, fuck the FBI, fuck Craig, fuck them all. So we can laugh at this shit, but I just have to laugh at the clownery coming from the right wing, coming from especially white conservatives and the crackers, of course, who of course the white racists. It's like y'all not gonna even turn up for pop pop, huh? Noli D. Noli D. Where's the signs? Are they busting the glass out of the 7-Eleven in downtown Salt Lake City? You know what I'm saying? Do they have their tiki torches ready to go? Fuck no. Cause they ain't giving a fuck about Craig. So, and to be honest, I tried to start looking for some right-wing reaction to the FBI shooting down this race soldier, this MAGA Trumper, this Second Amendment hero, right? I was trying to find some reaction from the right. And I went to Matt Walsh's page, right? Don't ask me why. Well, a couple of things. First of all, I'll tell you about my Twitter situation in a second. Fuck that. I'm rolling right now. So I went to Matt Walsh's page. Y'all know who Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is one of them pasty motherfuckers who added his dumbass face and voice to the chorus of when Tucker Carlson was trying to send the FBI to my fucking house, of all niggas. Anyway, so I went to Matt Walsh's page. I'm like, surely Matt Walsh is decrying the police brutality murder of this elderly race soldier, right? By the FBI, right? Ain't they trying to defund the FBI? Wouldn't they especially give a fuck if one from their side is shot down by the FBI? I didn't find it. But let me tell you what I did find. Will, roll the Matt Walsh clip.
Yesterday was the 9th anniversary of the lynching of a police officer named Darren Wilson. On the morning of August 9th, 2014, Wilson tried to detain 18-year-old Michael Brown, who had just robbed a convenience store and attacked the store clerk. And that's when, according to the Obama DOJ, quote, Wilson and other witnesses stated that Brown reached into Wilson's SUV through the open driver's window and punched and grabbed Wilson.
All right, that's enough. That is enough. And listen, in real life, that's about as much of that clip as I watched. I'm like, did this motherfucker literally say with a straight face that Darren Wilson was lynched? Between the encounter with he and Mike Brown, when Mike Brown, 18-year-old from Ferguson, Missouri, was the one who died in the encounter, somehow Wilson was lynched? These racist cracker motherfuckers just be saying shit. They don't know what lynched means. They don't know what woke means. They clearly don't know a lot of shit. They just let these words that they hear and are completely content to use this shit out of a historical context and out of a intentional misunderstanding of words, right? Lynched. How did Darren Wilson get lynched? How did Darren Wilson get lynched? It was Mike Brown's body that laid out there in the streets of Ferguson for hours, uncovered as a message to the rest of you darkies there in Ferguson. Don't fuck with the police because we will shoot you down. And we all know what happened in Ferguson, 2014, 2015. We know that Darren Wilson somehow in his lynching managed to skate any sort of criminal accountability. He was unindicted by a cracker grand jury there in Missouri. And not only that, Will, pop up the root piece. Y'all, do you guys remember? Darren Wilson raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, pop up the root piece, Will. Darren Wilson, at one point, his GoFundMe was flush with over $400,000 to $500,000. In fact, The Root, I found this old ass piece from The Root, and the reporting on it was quite poor, by the way, by theroot.com. This shit was horrific reporting because all this Root piece did was cite the Daily Fail. I'm sorry, the Daily Mail. I don't consider the Daily Mail to be a reputable source, but this was the piece that I could find that confirmed some of my memory. Like I was finding all kinds of pieces from 2014 that said that Darren Wilson's GoFundMe specifically had raised about $500,000. But I'm like, nah. I thought this Bama skated with a cool mill, with a mill ticket. He got a millie out of being a race soldier for the right and for the police state. I'm telling you, I never burp. I never burp when I'm just sitting here, when I'm minding my business watching TV. But as soon as I sit down and start burping here, Darren Wilson, let me tell y'all something. If that's a lynching, if you get to have your complete identity protected, what do I mean that by his identity protected? Good luck trying to find Darren Wilson on the internet. Good luck trying to find his current whereabouts. Good luck trying to find things that happened to him after he murdered Mike Brown in cold blood, right? Like, that's lynching? Where you leave with as it said here, a $1 million war chest? He was able to resign from the Ferguson Police Department, I'm assuming with all of his pension and benefits and all that shit intact. That's a fucking lynching to these crackers like Matt Walsh? When Mike Brown was actually shot dead? The whites are not well, okay? The racist whites are deeply unwell people. They lack comprehension. They don't understand history, don't care to understand it, don't understand the role that race and racism has played in this fucking terrible colony that unfortunately we all are subjected to. And it's just a wild distortion, right? It's just wild in the ways that the actual murder of Black people will be described as a lynching of the white murderer in America. And talking about what's happened with this man in Utah, we'll pop up that political piece. I apologize. I think it went out of order. It wasn't intentional. But back in 2020, the Department of Homeland Security had put out this draft notice. And then it wasn't just DHS. I believe it was the FBI and other national law enforcement agencies that told us. I mean, not that Black people needed any any confirmation of this. We fucking knew this shit. But yeah, this piece from Politico, DHS memo, says that the white extremists, the white supremacists are the most dangerous group in the country in terms of most likely to commit terrorist acts. And this is why we can't ignore them, you know? Thank you so much, Latif, for your super chat support. You say you're at your new location. Uh-oh. At your new location, the break room is inundated with faux news. Play it all day. Well, did they say anything about that race soldier? Did they? What did Fox News say about the race soldier? About Craig? About Pop? Were they upset that the FBI committed police brutality against Pop? They weren't mad. They didn't even care, right? They didn't even mention that shit. Ain't that something? Isn't it funny how that works? Listen, y'all, never. Let me tell you something. In the history of Black people being on this continent, and indigenous people, this is their continent, right? But when the whites came, what did they bring? Terrorism, pestilence, disease, genocide, theft. You know what I mean? Theft of land, theft of children, theft of resources. Like, what didn't they steal? That's why I'm saying, not to our white friends included here, but for Black people and non-white people, like in the street, you kind of got to give white people what they give us. So when you see them walking, like act like you scared, like clutch your valuables a little closer together, but be dramatic with it, just so there's no mistaking what it is that you are trying to communicate. Because the biggest murderers, the biggest thieves, the biggest robbers, the biggest kidnappers, the biggest rapists, they came from Europe. Europe. They came from Europe. And these are their descendants that we are walking around here with. These are the folks that terrorized Africans, that terrorized the enslaved people, that terrorized free Black people, burned their towns to the ground, burned their businesses to the ground, homes to the ground, lynched their men, women, and children, put them into the criminal and justice system, and terrorized them there. If you think for a second that paying attention to white terrorists is a distraction, I don't think you've been paying attention long enough to American history and the ways in which white terrorism impacts us directly. Now, if the white terrorists want to shoot at each other, we rooting for that shit. Just like January 6th, I told y'all it was a glorious day, a day I still celebrate. I love January. Oh my God. Anytime January 6th come on TV, I'm watching that shit. I'm like, yep. But don't you ever in the history of ever take your eyes off what them white terrorists is doing, even if they talking about capping their own. Because once they finish capping their own, once they finish taking out the Biden Democrats or whoever the fuck is within those sniper sites, right? They're coming for us. They are coming for you. They are coming for me. And we better be prepared, because you might see somebody like Craig Robertson and think that he's, so elderly and frail, he must be harmless. The fuck he is. The fuck he is. His trigger finger still work. His hips and his knees may be arthritic as shit, but he can still pull that fucking trigger. And for that reason, you better consider him to be your enemy. Him, his son, his grandson, all of them. Let's not be foolish, everybody. Let us not be foolish and not pay attention to the white terrorists, because they are paying attention to us. And y'all know when these motherfuckers, when all these crackers came in and tried, whatever the fuck they did over here, when the Tucker Carlson shit was going on, a lot of the comments that I got was, she must be a Biden supporter. How did you deduce that, cracker? I get it, because I'm Black. Right. So all Black people support Joe Biden. Now, obviously, that's not true. That's not true for me. I know that is definitely not true for a good many of y'all. But Craig thinks so. Craig and his cronies think so. And you think they wouldn't shoot me down or shoot you down, assuming that we're down with Joe Biden because we Black, we must be Democrats? Let's not be silly, everybody. Let us not be fucking silly. In fact, when we see these stories, I think it is very important that we pay attention to it, because that white on white violence doesn't usually stay there. You know what I'm saying? The difference is with so-called Black on Black crime, Black on Black violence. Usually, these are people who are impoverished, who are experiencing societal pressures, right? Shooting at people that they know, right? When there's a mass shooting in the hood, it's usually somebody shooting at somebody that they know, right? A lot of these white mass shooters go in and shoot randomly, arbitrary. And not to say that one is better than the other. Absolutely not. Random haphazard gun violence is terrifying. Like, I don't give a fuck who the fuck is pulling the trigger. But we usually, not we, I don't even know if I can consider myself with these folks, but anyway, the people who are the would-be mass shooters in Black and brown neighborhoods are not turning those guns unfortunately, against their oppressors, right? They're not going into the areas where their oppressors reside and turning those guns there. But the difference is, once the extremist whites finish shooting at each other, they come into our grocery store in our neighborhood to kill our people. And that's why we need to pay attention.